kind of particular way to move forward with the deliberations that this committee and the planning board has had, and what the impact it will have on agriculture, at least from a perspective that we can have. And then there'll be numerous opportunities for public forums and these kinds of things where people can voice their concerns, get their questions answered, if there's something that they're worried about, that they are fearful about. This is going to be a three-stage process. This committee is the first stage. Then the planning board, the full planning board, is the next stage, and then the commissioners are the final stage. So we're relatively early in the process, and we've been working on this now. I think we had our first meeting in February, this subcommittee. So we're not going that fast.
I heard that the commissioners was going to adopt what y'all recommended.
You'll have to ask the
And
commissioners about that.
when is the date, the last meeting for this?
We may have, as a subcommittee, this may be our last meeting tonight, but that the planning board will take the information that we give them, and it's really up to the full planning board to make that decision, and then make a recommendation to the commissioners.
Who is the planning board?
There's 5 of us on the regular planning board, and we have
Is there
What,
5 other
3?
members?
3.
So it's gonna be the same
there's 6.
that y'all-
There's 6
It's
other
going to be the
members.
same that y'all recommend.
There's 6
Not
other members.
necessarily.
So there's
Not
11 total members of the planning board.
Here, they're all.
Yeah.
Five of them are represented on this committee.
Right.
And this committee is 3 non-planning board members, Matt, Tammy, and Tandy.
When's going to be the last date of, till y'all turn it over to commissioners?
I can't tell you that. That's up to the full planning board. You know, we'll give a report to the full planning board, we'll discuss it. Our next meeting is July 7th. Is that correct? It'll be on a Tuesday night, and they start at 6:30 also, is that right? And that'll be in the ag building. So we'll be giving a report at that time to the full planning board, and we'll just have to see how it goes from there. And it would be premature for me to predict that. Any other comments or questions? Thank you. So let's come back to the pros and cons and the different options. We have that Bill did a great job putting that together, revising it from our last meeting. And Carolyn, you presented this to the planning board at the last meeting. Yes, I have, if you don't have one, I have the latest version. Anyone else need one?
Dig through a couple this way.
Any of you like any of these?
I don't think
I'm good. Stacy, do you have a copy? I'm gonna find that online.
Are we good down there?
Well, we can get you a copy,
Well,
Stacy. Stacy is also on the planning board, by the way,
There you
but
go.
not a
There should be
formal
enough
member of
for-
this committee.
Right.
So
Who else needs a
sorry,
copy?
Stacy.
No, that's all right.
No, I think we got enough for you to have one.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's fine if there's one spare, that's fine, thank you.
And I know you've all studied this greatly. So what changes do we want to propose to this? I have about two or three, and see if everyone agrees to that. On option 1, the cons, next to last one, leaves county vulnerable to land uses not permitted in adjacent counties. We should probably state that of the 8 counties that border Chatham County, 7 are fully zoned. Is that okay with everyone? I think it addresses in part the reason why the county is moving forward with this. On the option 2, the second pro, it says a first step, I would say a possible first step toward more traditional zoning at a later date in areas of Chatham not experiencing rapid growth at this time. Is that okay with everyone? Doesn't change the intent of it, that's for sure. And on the option 4, interim zoning in some areas of the county, currently unzoned and open use zoning in other areas. On the cons, the next to last one, no map for development plan rather than in much of Chatham County and parts of the county. As we're not trying to put together a map or anything at this point. So it'd be parts of the county.
I've got a question on that con where it says requires deciding where to draw lines separating zoned areas from open use areas. I mean, that's something that's pretty much done every day, not just with zoning, but with school districts, election districts, not only election districts, but school voting districts as well as school districts. I mean, we got 17 schools, and they've got all lines as to who's gonna go to what school. It's not.
That's always a very controversial issue, as voting districts obviously are controversial, school districts are controversial and stuff, so, you know, I think the subcommittee thought that this was a con, that it would, not a con in trying to trick anyone, but something that's more of a negative. It's gonna be hard to draw that line of exactly where the zoning ends and where the open use zoning starts. And that's not an easy thing to do. There must be a lot of consideration, so I think it is a legitimate con or negative to put in there. Does anyone disagree with that besides Gene?
Well, I don't disagree with it, but I think anywhere you do even any type of zoning, you're gonna have to decide where the boundaries of how it's going to be designated are, and there's gonna be people with those interfaces that are unhappy with it.
That's correct. And that's,
That's
yeah, but it's not easy, so it is, you know, it creates a potential controversy in deciding that, you know, obviously. Any other comments on the current 5?
Yeah, George, I think we have in options 3, the headline, we say extend traditional zoning, parentheses, interim zoning. Option 4, we talk about interim zoning. Option 5, combination of interim zoning. In that con we were just talking about the word interim. The problem is there really is no such thing as interim zoning. If you zone something, it's zoned. I mean, you can always go back and unzone it. But what I would like to do is at the top, where we say, options for dealing with unzoned parts of the county, is say interim options for dealing with unzoned parts of the county, and then take away the interim in these options. Because I think if we say interim, it implies to people that these are temporary measures, which they probably won't be. So I think it's a bit misleading. Whereas what we're proposing is an interim plan. So that's what I would like to suggest.
Yeah,
And this came up at the planning board meeting, the use of that use of language was something I think Brian brought up and
There's a lot of confusion about that word.
yeah, I think its use was started, and it wasn't me that started it, but, you know, I think that it was started because it was meant to be looked at again after the land use plan is developed and approved. So
Right.
there was an expectation that it would be interim and may well be changed, but in reality, any zoning decisions are in a sense subject to change. How many times have we amended our zoning ordinance? I mean, it's the amendments to our zoning ordinance are probably longer than the ordinance itself at this point. If you look through the history of it since 1976.
I don't think we were questioning the word interim. I think the question was the use of the word zoning with interim, is what I'm remembering from the planning board meeting, was because I think we're looking at all possible interim options, and, you know, one of them was zoning. I think that was what came up at the planning board meeting.
Well,
So what is your proposal
Is that
again?
what you heard?
No, this is what I think we should do. I don't,
Well, so state your proposal again, and
at the top, let's call it interim options for dealing with unzoned parts of the county. This would be what you do until you develop, you know, a map or a plan, you know, a
The land use
development.
plan.
And then down in the option headlines, take out the term interim. So that you're not implying that it's some temporary thing. I mean, this is all interim stuff, but if you zone something R1, it's gonna stay R1 until you decide not to change it. So it's not really interim.